Welcome to the podcast, The Next Big Thing. I'm your host, Keith D. Terry, a consultant, a coach, and a serial entrepreneur. The mission here is to teach, inspire, and to motivate. We're here to unveil the captivating stories of triumph, resilience, and the secret recipes of success shared by some pretty remarkable entrepreneurs and individuals. You know, the kind of stories that ignite a fire within you, pushing you to reach for the stars and helping you discover the path to financial freedom. But hey, we don't want this adventure to be a solo one. Join our community, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you like what you hear today, spread the love by sharing this with your friends. After all, greatness is meant to be shared. So fasten your seatbelts, dear listeners, because the next big thing is about to take on a thrilling ride through the world of success, and we're just getting started. In today's episode, I am excited because we're going to be talking about creating new opportunities, pathways, and access that will impact the future with Dr. Stephen Martin, who is the Executive Director for Healthcare. He was also an Executive Director for the American Hospital Association, specifically Association for Community Health Improvement, and the Chief Program Officer for the Health Research and Educational Trust. Dr. Martin was formerly the Health Commissioner and Chief Operation Officer for Cook County Department of Public Health and a senior executive and member of the Cook County Health and Hospital System C-Suite. I could go on, but without further ado, I'd like to just welcome Dr. Stephen Martin Jr. How you doing?
Good.
And welcome
good.
to the show.
Thank you for the time to not necessarily break bread, but get together and have a good conversation about what's happening. A lot's happening, and it's going to impact our family and our community.
Absolutely. And before we get into that, what I'd like to have the audience know is who is Stephen Martin? Let's talk a little bit about you. We could talk business, but there's a brain up there and a desire and passions. So who are you? Tell us the audience.
Well, I lost my accent because I've lived here in the Midwest for the last 20 or so years, but I'm originally I'm a New Orleans native.
Okay.
And so I won't sit here and say make some groceries or how your mama, how your mama and them. So I can't. So that won't come through in the interview. But originally from New Orleans, my family's also originally from New Orleans. I come from also kind of a dynamic family. I have two wonderful sisters, who one is a physician and one also obtained her PhD. And then my mother was formerly now she's a retired nurse, and my father was a CPA by training. And and also he was the first African American to break the color barrier in the SEC conference. And so a little bit about that, just real quickly, is that in 1964, when Tulane University was still a part of the SEC conference, and also interesting enough, the SEC conference did not give athletic scholarships to Negro athletes. And so he went to Tulane on a Rockefeller academic scholarship, and funny, and our family laughs about it, he majored. So imagine being one of few at a majority university in majoring in Latin and trying to stay alive in the Deep South, playing baseball, going from town to town in some of those SEC cities. And so and lastly, I just how he got to baseball, why people sit here and say, well, why baseball? Well, my grandfather and the baseball coach at that time convinced my dad that playing baseball would at least keep him alive. And what they meant by that, because my dad loved football. Okay. So he thought he was going to go down football, but they convinced him that you couldn't protect yourself if you got tackled, and you wouldn't know who was coming to hurt you. So they convinced him and said, if you play baseball, you would at least see them coming at you. Okay. Imagine playing in Starkville and knowing that, at that time you had all these kind of silent warriors that were among the real noisy warriors like Dr. Martin Luther King. But all these folks breaking the color barriers in these different universities and different aspects of our society. And so, but ironically, what was interesting about a baseball field, if you know it, and back in those days, is that some of the crowd would park their trucks in the outfield. So my dad was an outfielder. So now he's in the outfield, and some of these KKK trucks would park in the It's back there. So I don't know if it was necessarily safe or was a good idea.
Right.
But let's look at it this way. On a happier note, he made it through, not with some PTSD through that time period, but here he was really a person who really pushed education.
Okay.
And I'll segue that into just quickly into this conversation.
Okay.
That he had the opportunity to go on and play minor league baseball. But at that time, as you know, Keith, that our community was really focused on the uplifting through education.
Yes, indeed.
And so he came from a family that my grandmother or my dad's mother finished elementary school, and my grandfather did not finish elementary school, but they pushed education in a big way. So when that time came when he was making that decision, well, do I continue on this athletic career or do I continue on the educational track at that time? He chose the educational track, which was the uplifting, because he saw that was the way to uplift his family going forward. So he pushed that, and then he lastly said to myself and my sisters that if whatever you do, so whatever you is going to be your career, get the highest training or educational attainment in that field. So, for example, if you were going to be a plumber, for example, get all the certifications at the highest level so you could be at that top of that pyramid. Or if you're going to go into a specific discipline, make sure you get that last terminal degree. So that really stuck with my sisters and I. So that's why I got my PhD in epidemiology. So I didn't pick a side. So epidemiology is my family never knew what it was, but it's numbers and health. So imagine an accountant and a nurse. So I didn't pick a side. My sister, she chose to be a physician. And so she stayed on my mom's side. And then my younger sister, she chose to get her PhD in French. And so, but all of that through there was, and what's important and what is missing today is really that push to encourage our kids and our students to really, whatever you choose to do, make sure that you get the highest training and highest education. And that's important so that they hear that you just don't stop and just necessarily settle.
Well, so let me just jump in here for a second. It sounds like your parents did a phenomenal job for there to be 2 or 3 PhDs in the kids. Everybody's got a great education. And I can just hear the passion for getting educated, certificates, degrees in your voice when you told the story about your pop. So I really appreciate that. And so now as we segue into CPASS, so for the listening audience, he corrected me on the pronunciation of that, which again means creating pathways and access for student success. So tell the listening audience about CPASS Foundation. Who are you guys?
Yeah, so aside from our very long formal name in the acronym, we really are a 41-year-old organization.
Okay.
The name, as we rebranded ourselves in 2018, is about 5 years old now. But originally, we were birthed out of the Chicago Area Health and Medical Careers Program, which was a STEM program started in 1979 by 2 dynamic African Americans who really wanted to support our community of scholars who were looking for how do they get prepared for the sciences and a health career. And so a lot of the alumni of the what we call it the CHAMPS program, who have become physicians are now physician leaders and physicians executives, and some are our board members, really dynamic. We have a really dynamic board who've been in a pipeline program that augmented their normal academic day, elementary, high school, et cetera, et cetera. So our foundation is really, our mission is to increase the number of Illinois scholars, wherever you are in the state, that who are underrepresented in the STEM professions. To increase those numbers. And we have, in those 40 years, we particularly focused on increasing numbers of physicians.
Okay.
But as we were rebranding and refreshing, we also start to really look at the data, look at some anecdotal data, some observations, and said, not everyone can be a physician, and that's not a knock. And not everyone should be a physician.
Okay.
And we can, that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But
Right.
what we recognized in that those individuals who had the spirit and the aptitude to really go on to that medical career, we needed to make sure that we were augmenting their normal academic life. But what was more important was helping those students who have an aptitude for STEM and health,
Gotcha.
to make them aware of all the wonderful careers in healthcare. So you could be an engineer. So one of the many engineers that you've named off here, that is a rewarding career, and you could design the next robot to do surgery.
Absolutely, you can.
And guess what? You don't need to go to school as long as a physician and still have a six-figure income.
Right.
You could be a nurse or a nurse leader and go to and spend less time becoming a physician and make equal amounts as a physician. So telling and educating our community and our students about the various careers makes a difference. Now that student that says, somebody pushed me and I saw on TV the excitement of being a doctor, and I just did it because that was what I was supposed to do. But I really love being a dentist.
Gotcha.
That is the important work that we recognize in this rebranding, refreshing, that we had to support if we're going to diversify and increase the healthcare workforce, is to make sure that we didn't lose anyone in the pipeline.
That's brilliant.
So through our board's leadership, we really we have stepped back and said, particularly here in the state of Illinois, that we are going to be an honest information broker to educators, parents, students, and scholars. So we've created a database of all the after-school STEM programs that we at least know of in the state of Illinois, that a scholar and student can go in and search, just like you can do a Google search, and they'll tell you, how many miles away from your house. Do you have to pay a fee? Does it focus just on girls coding? Is it a sleepover camp? So starting there. The next part of that pipeline is to really design programs that really speak to awareness, social justice, and augmenting the full scholar to be that impactful person when they come back into our community. And then lastly, really what we're now working towards is how do we talk to our parents and how the parents of these STEM scholars, and what it takes to raise a STEM scholar in 2023.
So let's unpack that a little bit, because I went to your website and I looked, and I get excited because people don't know my undergrad degree is bacteriology, so I get it. How do you go about reaching these kids? Because it looks like you're focused on middle school, high school, and let's face it, there is a gap because a lot of folks don't like math and science. One, because it's not taught interestingly. I have my own bias, but what's the biggest challenge for you guys in reaching the kids?
You're absolutely right. It's a combination of reaching the kids and all the distractions that they have. So you and I growing up, I was just telling my wife that there was a picture I saw that of kids playing in the playground and getting muddied up, and then there was a side picture of kids just on their phones. And I said, we were raised during that time period, and we didn't have distractions. Our students and our scholars have so many distractions that trying to pierce through that is difficult. But what we've recognized is that the job is immense, and we can't do this alone. So we work with a phenomenal group of program partners, and we try to make sure that we have information and outreach that is reaching the students and the scholars where they are, to let them know you can do this, or there's some programming here, or there is a talk at in your area that you might want to attend. So that's important. And then the other part is really it's really trying to figure out how do we get to those parents and let them know what we're doing and let them know what's available out there, and for them to ask us questions.
So I would assume when you say program partners, I did some, can you tell the listening audience, who your program partners are? Because I also have a challenge about who potential new partners can be given the shift in technology now. So who are your program partners?
Now, because we have a little health slant in the STEM kind of world, so we have partnered and really partnered with several medical schools to do what we call the mini medical school, to give our kids an opportunity in the grades 4 through 6 to see it. So if you can touch it, you can be it and touch it. So we give the opportunities in working with Rush University Medical Center.
Wow.
We are working with University of Illinois at Chicago Medical School. We're working with Rosalind Franklin Chicago Medical School.
Wow.
And we're looking to work with one more medical school to stand up a mini medical school. And our goal in that particular dynamic is there are 9 accredited medical schools in the state of Illinois. And we would like to have a mini medical school that goes into the community and brings 4th to 6th graders in to have this kind of experience for 8 months. And that's our goal. We're 4.
Wow.
We're 3 in. We got 1 coming online next year. So we'll be at 4. We got 5 to go. And so we're excited about that. We're also working with MAPS Corps.
Okay.
And MAPS Corps, and they're going to kill me. I forgot their acronym, but they're a very dynamic and interesting STEM program where they actually teach high school students how to conduct a research project. And one of the great things that they have done is, as you would know, Keith, is asset map all the businesses in certain communities in Chicago. So they hire high school students, teach them how to conduct during the summer, how to conduct a research project, do data collection, and they go back and analyze that data. And they have actually, it's such a wealth of data that it's used by health departments and others that look to understand what is happening in the community, where are the gaps, where are the deserts, between food deserts or some other type of business.
Yeah.
So that's that. And then we also partner with SMASH, which stands for Summer Math and Excellence in Science. And there's one more piece I keep forgetting.
Right.
But that is our what we consider our premier residential program, where we are working with high school students. We bring them in and they stay on a college campus, and we put STEM focused programming in front of them for about 3 to 5 weeks. They get a social justice curriculum that we work through. We do a lot of mentorship and networking. So we ask our board members, we asked folks from the community who are minority CEOs to come in and talk about this very kind of conversation. How did you get in it? What can you do, et cetera, et cetera. So what we've recognized, we can't do it all, but if we are there to facilitate partnerships and get this work out there and work with others who are in this space to kind of fill that pipeline from K through 12. Now, we also work with medical schools, the actual medical students.
Gotcha.
But we know that they are parts on that pipeline, and post-pandemic that we really need to step back, refocus on, redesign our programming, and make sure there's metrics there to make sure our kids are ready, as you said.
Okay, that's great. I thought we were going to lose you there a little bit with with technology. So that sounds great. And you said you slanted towards healthcare. Can you talk a little bit about how the pandemic may have given you additional challenges? Because we all know that kids have stepped back from high school or formal education or getting back to it, but there are some challenges. Has that uncovered new issues for you guys?
For us, absolutely, and particularly in the space of math and science. And this is another very long conversation of what the pandemic did to our students, particularly in high school and as well as elementary. I mean, there's so much about the impact of the time spent away from the classroom, and its impact particularly on students of color. And what we've really recognized is our students particularly here in Illinois, that math has really been one of those areas that has really been impacted. And for us, since we focus on health and STEM, you and I know that math is the foundation for all of this. And if you don't have good math skills, then instead of us being an augment pipeline program, we get pulled into an area which we don't have the expertise, nor should we be in, which is now we are remediating math that really skilled teachers should be doing.
Gotcha.
And the schools should be doing. We are augmenting, but what we have had this tussle that's going on post-pandemic is we're finding that we have to augment our programs a little bit more to include some math awareness, some other math instruction that we really should not be doing. So that's one part. And then I'll make this last comment, which is also impacted by the pandemic, but also these mixed messages coming out of our universities, which is, some universities have moved away from standardized testing.
Yes, they have.
Which in STEM, as you know, most of the STEM careers, you're taking testing throughout your life and career, either for a license or maybe for a promotion.
Yeah.
And so this is about making what it takes to raise a STEM kid, talking to parents, and then also talking to students that, hey, if this is where you're going to go, we encourage you to pick up those math skills because, for example, if you're going to be a physician, you are taking standardized tests all your life. All your life.
You're not getting away from that.
So you have these mixed messages coming saying, well, I don't need this math class. I don't need to practice to take the standardized testing. And that's a conversation in our community that we just historically in the U.S. with standardized testing that we're also finding we have to, communicate better with parents, students, and scholars about what a STEM career is and what it takes to be.
So when you guys pivoted to, or slanted, using your words, to healthcare, did you consider other possibilities? I'm just curious. I mean, let me just say, I actually get it, because in the area of healthcare delivery, the numbers are so low for Black and brown people that I get it. But I also know that this is huge wave of other technology just kind of coming at us and seems to get the attention of these younger kids, right? And so talk a little bit about the pressure from your perched tree as the CEO of that group.
Well, fortunately, I don't necessarily feel so much of the pressure. Fortunately, I can report up to a board that they can feel the pressure and they can kind of direct us. But like I said, we started, we are 45, 46 years old. We have always had a health focus. And to your point, but in that rebranding, refreshing, and recognizing that just like we're saying, everyone can't be a physician or should be a physician.
Yes.
Not everyone should be in health or healthcare. And so what we've also recognized is it is our duty as a pipeline program to not lose any of our students. That can we make sure we have information about other STEM careers besides healthcare, and can we direct them to a coding camp that. Okay. So we, in this, it's not just, yes, we were champs for 40 years, but now we're CPASS, and it's creating the access and the pathways true to our title is so critically important. So we're open. We may not have programs specifically, for example, for coding.
Right.
But we are not against working with a partner to stand up a program, and where we do outreach and awareness to the network and to the state, and that we make sure that students and scholars know about that particular STEM opportunity. We're not against that because, like I said, not everyone is supposed to be in healthcare. Not everyone is supposed to be an engineer, because you don't want someone that is skilled in something else building a bridge. I can't think of it right now. You want your talented and your base to be in the area that they're passionate about, and not lose the aptitude to go to something else.
So how? So let's. I'm putting my marketing hat on. So how do kids, parents find you guys? You just when I went to your website, you guys have a plethora. You have a button that says, you can find STEM organizations, programs. I thought that was phenomenal, resource rich. And so since you're going after middle school, high school kids, how do they find you? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, my mom and dad didn't have a healthcare background. If it weren't for my science teacher in the sixth grade, just she brought in and made science so interesting to me. I fell in love. And when I took my first, bacteriology, microbiology degree at the University of Illinois, a funny story, I came home during Thanksgiving talking about, viruses and in the most romantic way, because I just thought that they were just so remarkable how they could enter the body and change things. But so how do you reach a kid who who could be good, but they just don't know? Are you going after what high schools do you going to? What elementary schools are you going to? And so that's what I want to know.
I'll make this 40,000 foot comment, which is particularly the body of work that we are doing. We're always somewhat resource limited. And so we have to be very strategic. So yes, we're on, Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we would love to be on TikTok, but given that the another country seems to be using that for something else, that they've cut off this particular opportunity to reach the kids where they are. So what you got all these other things that you have to navigate through, but we are trying to do some outreach, social media outreach where the kids are. But we see it as we rather use all those marketing dollars to go in programming. I mean, it's this catch.
I get it.
It's this catch-22. But also, when we're working with program partners, we ask to get their handles, and we ask them to share crisscross information. We can't do this by ourselves. We encourage STEM programs to reach out to us. And we'll blast off a post on what they're doing, and in our informational outreach to let school districts know that, hey, this is what's going on. We particularly, I think last year we attempted to reach out to all the school districts to let them know about our STEM database. We'll do that again. It's just that it's just a principal or a counselor just making an announcement, hey, go to CPASSfoundation.org, and you can go to a search engine to look up, some STEM programming in your neighborhood. So we're doing the things, but like I said, it's that balance between the resources and, recognizing that we're not the Googles, but interesting enough, Google is in this space, and they're encouraging, they have a STEM affinity, I would say, to get kids engaged, because they need a workforce to keep their engine going.
Absolutely. I want to get into that a little bit, but I wanted to also just come back. So because of the TikTok issue, it's preventing you guys from putting some things on the TikTok. That's a real issue for you guys? Well,
we're choosing right now to not stand up a TikTok presence till we see what our federal government is going to do around this space.
Fair.
We're starting to see some states pass legislation to ban it. So there's, it's kind of like, why put all these resources and stand it up when we can do something, that's 2 more kids that can be in our camp. And so until, for us, that's weighing those options. So until that gets cleared up, we're going to, try to use the incumbent social media channels to see if we can use that as outreach. But it's really about the stories that you share, Keith, are the stories like I've had, and a similar story like all my board members. If it wasn't for that elementary school teacher stopping me in the grocery store, that's one of the stories of our board chair. I mean, how he found out about CHAMPS is that his mother, who was a nurse,
Right.
just happened to be in the store, grocery store with the teacher.
Right.
Another teacher said, "Hey, you know about this program?" And so, of course, we would love to video and record all these stories, but will our kids put down the gaming to actually listen to one of those stories? And
you bring up a really, really good point. And that's why when I asked about how you get their attention, it's difficult. It's hard for parents to get their attention sometimes, with the phones and everything else. And so, for the listening audience, is there anything that this program can do to help get additional funding? Because I'm assuming, given that you are helping to empower and educate a potential new workforce, that the Abbotts of the world, the Horizons of the world on the pharmaceutical side, the Apple on the technology side could funnel resources your way. Is that a challenge or a possibility for you?
It's both a challenge and a possibility. What I've seen now in the STEM, at least in the STEM pipeline world, it's slowly becoming more organized. What I mean by that is there's more partnerships going on, and those partnerships are then going after grant dollars. And prior to that, you had the whole, a little New Orleans term, gumbo pot.
Okay.
Going after all these funding. So you had everyone knocking at Apple's door. And so what is Apple to do? Who to give it to? Why should I give it to you? So we are not, we are 501c3. We encourage anyone who wants to learn more or wants to help us in this mission to go to our website, and you can either contribute to us. And that would be just much appreciated in our programming, and just like every other foundation, working with partners who are passionate and being champions that this is, and explain to them that this is not short-term work.
No, it isn't. And, and this is why I wanted to just give a quick commercial to CPASS Foundation. For those folks that are listening to the sound of my voice or watching me, their website is www.cpassfoundation.org. It's just as it sounds, CPASS Foundation.org. Go check them out, pass their information around. It's a heck of an organization. Dr. Martin, what does the future hold for you? I mean, you guys were coming out of the pandemic, and now we have AI and we have schools trying to revamp. You've got so many things that are different than when the pandemic started. So what's the future hold? If you can share what is talked about in the boardroom.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I can speak necessarily look into the future, but at least for our body of work, and because we have this health slant and AI is coming, I think AI getting involved in health, actually doing the hands-on healthcare delivery is some time off. So, so we still need bodies to be that pharmacist, to be that nurse practitioner, to be that radiology tech, that physician, that nurse, even a hospital CEO. We still need those bodies. So for us, to your point, is through all of this noise, how do we continue to encourage and get students excited about STEM first, and then excited about a health career, and then channel them in their energy and their aptitude in the areas where they're passionate about. So that work is going to continue for us in the future. It's going to be it's continually going to be hard work. It's blocking and tackling type of work. It's working with program partners who share a common vision that collectively we get more done than individually, because what we've seen now, particularly as our students are coming out of post-pandemic, that on one side we may have lost one or two classes at the high school, at the elementary and high school level, simply because of how instruction was happening during the pandemic. So it's hard for students to catch back up. So if you were one of those students as a senior in high school, and things weren't instructionally at its top, and then you're faced to go on to, your first class in college is pre-calculus. So if you're not ready for that, so our future is challenging in that respect, that getting students back excited about instruction, getting excited about STEM careers, and educating parents. And one of the things like that is for what we're working on is like giving you a little laundry list of courses that your students, if you want them, for example, to be a physician, we want to say, hey, these are the math classes that they should have before they get to undergraduate. Because many of our parents don't know how to go to a school board meeting and advocate to the school board members that why isn't my child having pre-calculus as a senior in high school?
Yes.
Not algebra 1 as a senior.
Yes.
Okay.
Having been on the school board, I totally agree with you. Yes.
And because our parents are not aware, so we think it's us as a STEM pipeline program that's important to encompass everybody in this mission, the pastor, the community champion. That's our future, Keith, that everyone isn't needed to stand up a diverse workforce, mm-hmm. a competent workforce, and a workforce that has an affinity to our community too.
Well, I just want to applaud the what you guys are doing. And so how do you, because I know you, because our paths crossed at the American Hospital Association. And so, I know that you don't get those credentials behind your name, particularly the MPH, without determining degrees of success. So when you look at how successful your organization is, how do you go about grading what you guys have done? Let me just stop there because I can keep going. So that's a question my board asks of our team every board meeting. And because all the, as a school board member, the regulations around information access, so we don't get some of the information that the schools have for us to really create the metrics that can show our impact. So what we have spent some time. Are they resistant to you? Sorry for cutting you off.
No. Well, it's a catch-22. They're helpful, but because of the laws, there's so much they can do, and we're respectful of that.
Got it.
For us in this space, just as a one of many other type of spaces that work in various areas, there was no metrics to gather how to collect this data and analyze it and report it out. So we recognize in order to show our impact for the future, we need to know how our students are going through. So we know some few things like this math issue I'm speaking towards. We know this both on some assessments that we gave to some of our scholars over the summer, and we know it anecdotally. So when we look at that, we have students that are coming to us that are high school juniors that can't do basic math. But how do you put that into a metric that then tells the impact of your STEM program? And so we're working on that, and we're working with our program partners because they've never been challenged on this question either.
I bet.
And they're very open to it. It's just that they needed somebody to take the lead. And so we've chosen to take the lead, at least in our little world, to develop that metric program, start the hard work of collecting that and analyze it to get to the very point, is the work that we're doing impactful? I mean, we know some things on the pipeline gaps that we know need to be filled in regardless of what the data is telling us.
Gotcha.
But in order for us to really get more pinpoint and strategic, we need to know more from the data.
Okay. So I just wanted to give you, we're nearing the end, and I just wanted to give you the last minute or so to just speak to our listening audience about how they can help, what they can do, next steps, aha moments for them. Anything you want to say to the listening audience, Dr. Martin?
One thing, from what, like I said, two things. One is if you want more information, please come to our website at cpassfoundation.org. You can know what we're doing, what our programs are, and where our database are. We also are not against talking to other programs and being technical advisors and sharing. We believe it's a collective community effort. The second part of that is for parents who want to raise a STEM child. I think the important message is really get involved and seek out those who are in that field where your student has that aptitude, and ask for advice. If your child wants to be a physician, you go talk to your primary care physician and ask them, what classes did you take in high school? And many folks are willing to share with them, I made sure I took X class by this time. And then you take that information and you demand that not only of your student, if they want to be in this space, but also demand that of the educational institution you're paying for, both either in taxes or private tuition, that my kid needs to take this class, or you need to offer it, and don't dumb it down.
Well said. And with that, I'd like to just thank you, Dr. Stephen Martin Jr., for participating. He is the executive director of CPASS Foundation, which stands for Creating Pathways and Access for Student Success. Thanks for listening to The Next Big Thing. I'm your host, Keith D. Terry. If you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support this podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media or leave a rating and a review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on my YouTube channel at Keith D. Terry. If you want to recommend a guest, please email me at info@terryperformancegroup.com. This has been produced by your host and Jade Productions.